Hey, this is part 2 of my anxiety story. I broke off really abruptly in the last video, mostly because I thought I heard someone coming from the house. That's not an anxiety thing, that's just talking to a camera thing. Okay, so... oh, there's Abigail. Hey. Hello, sweetie. What's up? Say hello. Say hello. Okay, that's Abigail, my cat. Okay, so I should probably mention that around the end of last year, I started to have anxiety about actually Abigail, and I'd worry that she was going to run away or something was going to happen to her. And I am actually pretty much over that now. But recently, as of yesterday, I've started having panic attacks. Well, I used to have sort of ones like earlier this year, last year, a couple of years ago, that I didn't recognise what they were at the time, and neither did anyone else. They just thought I was getting really emotional and anxious. Yesterday, I was in math class. My whole life I've struggled with math because it's not something that I am good at doing or able to do easily. For some people, math comes easy to them, and that's great, but for me it just doesn't, and I've kind of struggled with that my whole life because of that. So yesterday I was in math class, and I was sitting there, and we're doing this algebra thing with linear equations, and I wasn't getting anything. And that wasn't just what brought it on though. The fact that I didn't understand any of it, there were all these X's and Y's and 3's and 2's, and the fact that everyone was so loud, I think it was really the noise. I ended up snapping at one of my friends actually, and because he was singing happy birthday to someone. But then I started breathing faster, and my heart was beating so hard, and then suddenly it kept going like for a couple minutes, and then suddenly it was like I couldn't breathe, and my heart was beating so hard, and I was trying to get my breath back, and my head was spinning, and honestly, when you have a panic attack for the first time in a long time, it feels kind of like you're dying. And I didn't do anything about it. I sat there. This was second period, yeah. And I sat there, and I just sort of did nothing about it. I just sat there with my hands over my face, trying to get my breath. It went into form time, and I kept doing that because I had the same form class as my math class. Then we had our interval, which is when I don't know what you call it, wherever you're watching from. It's not lunch, but it's before lunch, yeah. And I sat down with my friends, but I was still having that panic attack, and I was sort of sitting in the back. I didn't want any of them to know I was having a panic attack, because when you're having a panic attack, you don't want anyone else to sort of try and calm you down, because you can't calm down yourself. And the scariest thing is that I knew I shouldn't be like this, and I knew that I should start trying to breathe properly, but I couldn't. I ended up going to a counsellor's office at school, but he was busy, so I wrote down on a pass. We have these passes, and you write when you want to have an appointment. So I did that. I slipped it under the door. I was terrified, and I was still trying to catch my breath, and I ran. The next lesson, I had health, and we had a health test, meaning it was really, really quiet, and that was when I sort of started to calm down. By the end of the period, I was completely calm and fine. Today, I had it happen again. It was exactly pretty much the same situation in the same class, maths, except that it didn't last as long because I notified a teacher. And I told him I'm feeling really anxious and I have no idea what's happening to me. And he basically said, okay, how about you sit outside the classroom in the hall and I'll come out in a couple of minutes. A couple of minutes later, the bell rang and the period had ended. So a bunch of students came rushing out from the class and a few people noticed that I was sitting there. And a couple of girls, they weren't necessarily friends of mine, but they sat down next to me and they said, "Are you okay?" And I just said, "I have anxiety and I'm having trouble at the moment." And both of them looked at me and asked again if I was okay, and then one of them told me she had anxiety too, and don't... Okay. That was my dad, sorry. Anyway, and then a friend of mine in the class asked me if I was okay, and I started crying, and she hugged me, and she held me while I cried, and then the teacher came out and he talked to me. I started to feel a bit more calm. I told my other teachers in my other classes the rest of the day, and I'm not 100% sure why I'm making this video, except for the fact that if this can help anyone in any way to tell people that they are having trouble, then that's why I'm making this. I don't know what's going to happen with me, with anxiety wise, except that I'm going to do all that I can to get better and to try and control this thing I have. And if you have similar troubles, whoever you are, please speak out about it, because it starts getting better when you try and make it get better. And that might sound weird coming from someone who's only had 14 years of life, but just try. Okay, so that's this week's pretty depressing video. I'm not sure about what next videos will be, but okay, see you.